The trauma of losing someone is so painful that it can never be healed. You keep staring at the entrance of your house, reacting to the sound of every step coming closer, and realizing it is not the person you were expecting increases the grief. Every minute of longing, turning into hours, days, months, and years keeps wounding you from inside. The absence of knowing is so impossible to deal with because you've got nowhere to put it. It's a case that sent shockwaves in the Wisconsin city. Wisconsin is a peaceful state in the upper Midwestern United States. Alexander Peters and his wife Jennifer Eyerly lived in the beautiful Chippewa Falls with their 2 kids. Liliana Peters was born in 2012. The 10-year-old looked like an absolute doll with blonde hair and shining black eyes. She was studying in 4th grade. After returning from school, she would spend a few hours at her Auntie Lori Dabby's home nearby to play with her cousins. She would return home before sunset, and this was her routine. Lily loved going to school and had many friends. On the 24th of April Sunday, Lily told her parents that she was going to her aunt's home and would return before sunset. She took her bicycle and drove to her aunt's house, where she stayed for a while, and then went for a ride with her 14-year-old cousin Carson Peters Berger. Lily and her cousin would often ride on the walking trail and return home, but that day it was getting darker, and Lily still hadn't returned home. Her father, Alex Peters, began to worry. He waited for a while and then called Lily's Aunt Lori, but she said that Carson was already back home. Where did Lily go, and why she hadn't returned home? No one knew. Peters quickly reported to the Chippewa Falls Police Department about Lily missing. The police began to search for Lily in the entire Chippewa Fall, but there was no clue. Every minute passing was getting heavier on the family. Alex Peters told the police that Lily was wearing a purple long-sleeve quarter-zip shirt, black stretch leggings, and gray sneakers. The search continued for the whole night. The Chippewa County Sheriff's Office and the Chippewa Falls Police Department K-9 teams combed the woods. Not only that, as a part of the search, a sheriff's office drone was used. But deep darkness was coming between the investigations. The whole town remained awake, hoping that Lily will surely return home. After 12 hours of research, one of the officers spotted something purplish in the woods. He saw a little girl lying on the grass with blood splattered around her when he went close. The child seemed lifeless. The officer quickly reported and asked for an ambulance. Later, it was declared that Lily was found dead at around 9:15 a.m. on Monday in a wooded area close to a walking trail by the Lanning Cugels Brewery. The news of Lily's shocking death spread like fire in the Chippewa Falls. It was clear that Lily was murdered, but why would anyone kill an innocent girl who didn't have the power even to defend herself? The police began to investigate the case and looked at every aspect behind the motive for murder. According to the police, Lily was alleged to have known her murderer. A preliminary autopsy found that Lily suffered blunt force trauma and strangulation, with her death being ruled a homicide. On Tuesday evening, the murder suspect was arrested. It was Lily's 14-year-old cousin Carson. A detective interviewed the boy on April 26th. During the investigation, it was unveiled that Carson was the child of an indicted pedophile. His father, Adam Berger, 37, burned through 3 years in prison. In the wake of being gotten with a reserve of explicit pictures of juvenile young ladies on his telephone, it seemed like Carson had something to do with Lily's murder. It didn't take him much time to spill the whole story. Carson told the detective that he desired to have sex whenever he met Lily. He had been planning to murder Lily and then rape her for a very long time. On 24th April, when Lily went to his house, he was ready to initiate his plan. He told Lily to ride on a trail in Chippewa Falls, to which she agreed. Lily was riding her bike, and Carson followed her on his hoverboard. When he saw that they were far enough from their homes, he asked Lily to leave the trail and explore the woods with him. Lily left her cycle on the track and went into the woods with Carson. Carson kept walking until he found a dark place covered with bushes and trees. According to him, it was the right place where no one would search for them. Lily was looking around, totally unaware of what was about to come. Carson came close to her, looked at her with an evil smile, and punched right in her stomach. The punch was so hard that Lily cried in pain and looked at him in shock. Before she could say anything, Carson kicked her down to the ground. The monster in him was now fully awake. He had already prepared a stick so he could injure her to the point that she won't be able to descend. Carson whacked her with a stick in her head several times. The poor little soul struggling to live went unconscious. Carson began to choke her to confirm that she was dead. She seemed pale and lifeless. Blood dripped from her head, and bruises began to appear on her body parts. The monster was now ready to proceed to his primary motive. He began to take her clothes off and then sexually abused her. After having sex, he choked her once again to confirm she was dead. He got up, removed the dust from his clothes, fixed his hair, and slowly began to walk out of the woods. He made sure that no one would see him coming out of the woods. He reached home, took a shower, and put his dirty clothes in the laundry so no one would have a clue what he was doing that evening. The same night when the police knocked on their door to investigate about Lily, this was the first time Carson panicked. He spent the whole night in fear that he had made a mistake leaving Lily's body in the wood, and that he should have covered it. The following day, he returned to the woods to cover her body with leaves and remove all the clues, including the stick he killed her with. When the police asked Lori Davis about Carson, she said Carson was gone for several hours and came back home late at night. This was the first time the police suspected Carson and arrested him. As soon as the investigation began, Carson spilled his whole crime. He was charged with first-degree deliberate homicide and first-degree sexual violence. The preliminary findings support the version of events presented in court on Wednesday. Carson was held on a $1 million bond on charges of first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree sexual assault, and first-degree sexual assault of a child under age 13, resulting in great bodily harm. Online court records reviewed by the Post Thursday showed that Carson's 37-year-old father, currently living in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, was convicted in July 2017 of 10 counts of possession of child pornography and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia. Adam Berger once said that Carson was the best of me. Adam Berger has judged his son right because Carson didn't even hesitate once before killing Lily. His main motive was to kill Lily and then rape her. Lily's unexpected death has left her family in trauma and distraught. They would never be able to trust anyone ever again. That's a wrap for today. Don't forget to smash the thumbs up, share, and subscribe to the channel to see our latest content.